What's up, old school metal vinyl freaks? Welcome back to the channel. Time to discuss one of the ultimate living legends of death metal, namely Autopsy from the United States of America. Now, Autopsy is a band I've been a huge fan of since the early 90s. I bought pretty much all their releases, including the last couple of albums, which, in my humble opinion, are kind of subpar, but more about it later. What matters now is that, believe it or not, I decided to sell my original vinyl editions of both Sever Survival and Mental Funeral, which are arguably their best albums ever. Am I going insane? Probably so. I know I will regret selling Sever Survival especially, but what happens is that in the last year, as you probably know, I decided to sell a huge chunk of my black metal vinyl collection, and currently my death metal vinyl collection is also going through a reduction of some sort, especially when it comes to albums of which I own multiple copies of, such as the case for these two Autopsy records. But let's just take a look at them first of all. Now, this is the original pressing of Sever Survival, their debut album, year of release 1989 on Peaceville Records. Now, the history behind this LP, you can probably tell that the cover artwork is incredibly gory and extreme. I hope that YouTube will not nuke this episode like they have done with the Brujeria one. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And just like that, this album is still pretty, it really looks extreme even by today's standards. Imagine 36 years ago. So what happened was that distributors refused to carry the LP and forced the label to come up with a reissue with an alternative cover artwork, which is the one you're about to see right now, and which I decided to keep. This is the edition which will stay in my collection. The other one was sold recently. I'm a sucker for this kind of cover artworks, which have this kind of like comic vibe, totally fit in the concept of the album, and I decided to keep this one. Mind you, the very first original edition will go from anywhere in between 120 to 200, maybe 250 euros, depending on the conditions. This is a solid near mint slash near mint, and it went for 150. Could have charged more perhaps, but it is what it is. On top of that, not only have the black vinyl reissue, which is just seen, but I also own the picture disc edition, which I got deadly cheap some years ago just on Discogs. Gotta say, this picture disc sounds absolutely flawless. Now, the picture disc kind of got a bad reputation over the years, mainly thanks to a terrible pressing plant from Czech Republic, whose name I will not mention, but you all know which one I'm talking about. And this is a picture disc from the times when picture discs actually sounded very good. I played it a couple of hours ago, and it sounds absolutely flawless. I bet I could blind play this one and tell you if you could tell any difference from the black vinyl, and I'm sure that 90% of you would not be able to tell which is the picture disc, which is the black vinyl. So yeah, I mean, picture disc is a format that would deserve some more recognition, because it suffered from the lack of dedication, lack of competence of some specific vinyl pressing plant, which I will not mention again. Autopsy, Mental Funeral. This was actually my very first introduction to the band. I bought this album in 1992 before I got hold of the original Sever Survival, which was later acquired on a vinyl fair in around 1995, I think that was. This was my very first Autopsy album. I actually bought first the picture disc again, and this is my very first copy of the album. Again, a killer sounding picture disc. I bought it in a sadly miserable town called Trieste Merda, not too far away from where I live. I will stick to this one copy, which is my very first one, and to the reissue, which came out on limited color vinyl. It's actually a green vinyl, which totally fits the concept of the album. I'm a huge fan of green vinyl. Green and blue vinyl are my absolute colors of choice when it comes to vinyl. For some reason, I tend to like those colors. Don't ask me why, but in this case, it absolutely fits the concept of the album. This, gory death metal, absolutely perfectly. Musically speaking, it's very, very hard for me to choose between these two albums, because they are both immortal masterpieces, ultimate masterpieces. Don't dare to call yourself a death metal fan if you dislike any of these albums, either of these albums. Like, they are absolute death metal perfection. Perhaps I would still choose Mental Funeral over Server Survival because it flows slightly better. I think that the band at this point was just had just refined their sound and their technical skills. Songs that I like, absolutely love the first one, Twisted Mess of Burnt Decay, Torn from the Womb, and Mental Funeral, the title track, absolutely faves on mine. On Sever Survival, I'm a big fan of the demo songs, which are written with Disease, Sever Survival, and Inbound, absolutely metal classics. Now, of course, the band is still active these days. I've been buying all the releases, as I said in the beginning of the episode, but let's face the cruel truth. Unfortunately, as good as they are nowadays, they are just a shadow of what they used to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like the last couple of records, but in the best case scenario, I will look upon them as competent death metal, but not even remotely comparable to the class of Sever Survival and Mental Funeral, which are ultimate death metal classics. But then again, the band, I think that the band peaked with these two albums, but everything up to and including Acts of the Unspeakable and Retribution for the Dead, the mini LP, as well as the Fin for Blood mini LP, is absolutely top notch. 10 out of 10 death metal. After that, starting with the album that followed, they kind of lost the magic touch a bit. Don't get me wrong, once again, I'm not saying they suck, far from that, not even implying that, but it's the fact that the very first releases were on a league of their own. But then again, how many bands can come up with masterpieces like this? Not that many. So guys, that does it for this short episode dedicated to Autopsy. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think about this band. Which of these albums do you like more? Are you more of a Sever Survival fanboy, or are you more into Mental Funeral, or is there any other Autopsy album which you would rank higher than these two masterpieces? Feel free to let me know down in the comments. I will never stress enough how this channel is all about musical discussion and vinyl discussion. Feel free to let me know down in the comments. Sorry, my cat decided to say hi. As usual, is a constant presence on this channel. So yeah, guys, I can't really wait to read your comments. Feel free to let me know down in the comments your honest opinion on this band. Until the next time, keep it loud and heavy from my cat too.